That's why it's very easy to get blackpilled.
Oh, it's so easy to get blackpilled.
Yeah, just because you have a normal, common sense, logical point of view about anything now, and you're ultimately deemed right wing. You're ultimately deemed alt right. You're ultimately deemed a Nazi, and it's just like, well,
only
what's the point
by
of
a couple of knuckleheads on Twitter though, and a couple of knuckleheads in real life. That's the
yeah.
truth
No one
of it.
ever no one ever no one ever talks about politics this way in person. It's very rare.
Yes.
It's like if you're at a rally, if you're at a protest, sure, you'll meet some of those people. But when we're having conversations like this, or I have some communist friends that we have rational discussions about things because there are a couple of things that we will agree on, like certain government agencies definitely don't need to exist. So it's very odd that
We need a secret police though.
secret police, probably not. No, they might think so. They might think so to fill up the gulags, but no, not us. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was living in San Francisco, I would have discussions about politics with people who were very, very far left.
Yeah.
And it never delved into the kinds of conversations you would have with somebody on Twitter.
Yeah, well, humanity is an important part, right? Like when you are sitting or standing in front of another human being and you can look them in the eyes and see their body language and see their reactions. Unless you're a psychopath, it's pretty hard to be as nasty as some people behave online.
Or sociopath,
because we have a natural human empathy. And I think one of the big problems that we are having over the past 15 years, really accelerated over the past 5 or 6, is the fact that so much communication is happening online. And it's happening in a very limited way where people are rewarded through dopamine for saying stuff that's extremely inflammatory and hyper-partisan, all based on straw man, all based on emotionality and hitting certain triggers. The mainstream media outlets do this. Even the so-called leaders are doing this. And it's really devolving humanity in a way. It's great that we can all connect with each other. But when it's just a screen and you're tapping buttons, and no one is immune to this. I'm not speaking like I'm immune to this, but it's very easy to forget you're interacting with another human being, especially if they're hiding behind an avatar and they haven't even got their name there. And you're not even sure, is this a bot? Is this a real person? Whatever. And also on a platform like Twitter, where most of these conversations happen. And I don't hear a lot of people make this point, but conversations happen backwards on Twitter. And that's a big problem.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that when you meet someone in the real world, how does your conversation begin?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? You establish rapport and commonality.
Right.
You don't start by throwing out your hot take on whatever random subject of the day that is very, potentially, divisive or at least contentious or whatever. And that's how conversations happen. I mean, I love Twitter, but really it's this sort of giant room where you just go in and you shout something and then other people shout back their responses. Yeah. So and it could be an opinion on anything. There's no topic. No one says, okay, what should Zuby's next tweet be about? I can just go on there, just say, this is my opinion on whatever. And then a random stranger walks into it and encounters it. And they very quickly form an entire picture of who I am as a human being, positively or negatively, based on their response to that thing I'm saying. And in real life, that doesn't happen. If you're even going to get into topics such as politics and religion and social issues, and that's not how you start a conversation, right? You might establish all this commonality, and then you've been talking for an hour, and you start broaching some of those topics, and you have a chance to, even if you disagree with the person. Number one, of course, you've got that empathy, but you also have time to explain yourself and be corrected and ask the other person to explain themselves. See where you agree, see where you disagree. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I disagree with that. Why do you think that, right? It doesn't just devolve into this name calling and playing to the crowd, which, honestly is something that's hard to avoid, especially once you gain a big following and people kind of want you to do that because people want you to be that person who, it would be very easy for me to be that guy who's just that, like, super, I don't know, just goes,
clapbacky guy
trying to dunk on you.
Yeah, just super right wing, dunk on everyone, like certain lines, like never upset my own base. What just do that in and out, and it's kind of easy to do, and it can be greatly rewarded, both financially and socially and so on. But the reality is that, okay, my worldview isn't that. It's not that hard line. There is nuance to what I believe and why I believe it. I am open to correction, and also it's impossible to have a conversation with over 800,000 people at the same time. That's also another problem. And most people have never even tried to experience this, so they don't know what it's even like having hundreds of thousands, let alone millions of followers.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing, but it's like you cannot have a conversation with that many people simultaneously. Right now, more people will listen to this, but I'm talking.
You're talking to the two of us.
I'm talking to the two of you. We can have a conversation.
And we don't have Asperger's.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like Twitter's like. I feel like Twitter is like a room full of people with Asperger's.
It's a bunch of autists. I don't know. I just feel like it's a bunch of bots.
There are a lot of bots. I don't think it's
maybe we'll find out soon.
Exactly.
I don't think it's the majority. I just think that, like I said, all the aforementioned things almost lead to people behaving like bots because they forget they're human. They forget they're talking to humans. And you have to actually constantly remind yourself of this, like sometimes even multiple times a day, because you just see the numbers and you just see the little pictures.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, I've deleted thousands of tweets. Even some normally responses, because I might be not normally public ones, but like I'm about to respond and I'm like, you know what, like either it's just not worth it, or this is disproportionate. Even if someone is being a jerk, like because what's crazy is a lot, and again, people don't realize, is actually when you get a really big profile on Twitter, your replies can go viral.
Right.
So you could just reply to someone, not even in a public way, and thousands and thousands of people see just the reply. So I've had ones where someone says something and I just reply to them, and next thing they're getting like destroyed, they're getting piled on.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even my intention. Right. I was just responding to someone.
You're just tweeting.
Yeah, responding to someone who said something. So like we don't need to, take a flamethrower to a mosquito. It's not that deep. And so, you learn and things change, and these tools are also so new. We're not meant to be connected to so many people. It's completely unnatural.
Do you block many people?
I block people all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blocking is self-care.
Yeah. I didn't block anybody for my first 10 years on Twitter.
What is the prerequisite for a block? Like what does one person have to do to just be like, question. I'm not even.
It's actually a pretty high bar for me because I don't like blocking. I would ideally not block anybody. Mm-hmm. But again, once your account gets past a certain size, I'd say about 100,000 followers, then you have to, because some people are so malicious. And you also get bots, and you get people who are trying to get you kicked off the platform.
Gotcha.
So, and a lot of people don't realize that, right? Some people are like, oh, blocking is weak. Like I don't block anyone. It's like, bro, you have 20 followers, so you don't need to block anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Multiply that by,
10,000.
Yeah. Multiply that by 10,000 plus.
By 100,000.
And suddenly you'll see, oh, okay, I get it now.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to. So number one is like spam, like people just spamming stuff, or if it's an obvious bot, then I'll block that. Just like real, like hard levels of malice, either towards myself or other followers, or even just sometimes other people.
Yeah.
Like I don't have tolerance for like outright cruelty.
Yeah.
Or if someone is just being, or also like slander, when someone is just out there, like literally spreading lies, spreading lies, making stuff up, then that's a block. I never block for a mere disagreement.
Right.
Disagreement.
Yeah,
that's one of my rules.
Yeah.
Never block for mere disagreement. But I will block someone for being a complete a-hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I block if they bring up my husband or my daughter or any family. I just block.
Yeah. Same. Or if it's just one of these things, especially on Instagram, where they get into your DMs and you reply, and they're like, "Well, why don't you just leave? You just leave the conversation." Be like, "Well, you can do that too."
Yes.
But then you still keep on coming back to continue the conversation. So you can either block me or not. I'm not going to do anything. And then it's like, well, you should die. I was like, okay, now I'm going to block you.
Yeah, some people are energy vampires,
Energy vampires, yes. And attention seekers, 100%.
Yeah, and there's the level, there are certain lines where you just don't cross. And if someone crosses that, then I'm just like, look, I'm under no obligation to speak to you.
No, at all.
If this were real life, I'd have no association with you.
Right.
So just because it's Twitter or Instagram doesn't mean you have free reign.
It's a person literally screaming on a street corner.
Exactly.
That you walk by and you go, ugh.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you compound that with the fact that I think generally a lot of people in society are lacking a serious meaning in their life, which